I'd like to invite you to pray with me, please. God, I ask that the words of my mouth and the meditations in all of our hearts might be acceptable in your sight, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Have you ever noticed how many occasions and memories are tied together with food? I don't know about you, but I even have some memories of Christmases and Easters past where I can't remember who exactly was there, but I can remember the foods that were served. Maybe you do as well. The Thanksgiving pies or birthday cakes. Important occasions are often marked with food, right? And it's no different in today's gospel story. When Jesus appears post-resurrection to the disciples for the second time. Again, in today's gospel, as when he showed up behind the locked doors of the upper room, which we heard about last week, Jesus says to the disciples, "Peace be with you." Such deceptively simple words, aren't they? Jesus says, "Peace be with you," even as we're invited to say these words in worship each Sunday to each other. In fact, when we say the words, as we will later today again, "Peace be with you," as part of the liturgy being the fancy word that means the various parts that together make up a worship service, from the Greek liturgia meaning work of the people, when we say, "Peace be with you," we are proclaiming the peace of Christ to each other, reminding each other that just as Christ showed up to the disciples amidst their fears and worries and the struggles of their lives, Jesus is showing up with us. And so we declare, as part of our holy work together in worship and with prayer, "Peace be with you." And the gospel story continues, and we hear that Jesus eats a piece of broiled fish. You see, Jesus is saying by his action of eating, "I'm no ghost, no apparition or spirit, but the living, breathing, walking, talking, resurrected, and yes, eating Christ. I am not dead, but alive. And because Christ lives, you too shall have the promise of new life, the promise of peace." I know how we need that gift of peace in our world today, don't we? Peace to come to Gaza and to Ukraine. Peace to come to the floor of our Congress and among all the people so busy fighting with each other in person at local meetings, or on the lines at stores, or on social media platforms. It's clear that we have all too often lost track of our shared humanity. We all need a modicum of safety and security. We all need to sleep and breathe, and yes, eat. Like Jesus there with the disciples, showing them his true humanity, his risen in the fleshiness amidst all the messiness and getting lostness and downright off the track meanness of this world. We desperately need the peace of the resurrected Christ, the resurrected Messiah, to work a redemption story in the midst of all this brokenness, to teach us, you and me, again, how to listen for and work together for the stories and songs of peace and charity, compassion, forgiveness, and justice. These are Christian principles that are also cherished by so many other world faith traditions and even in many secular realms. Foundational place from which we can work to build a better world. I believe Christ yearns for us to know and believe and live the peace God can provide in a way that the world cannot, to give strength and courage to the weary of heart and mind and body and soul. And Jesus knows that we can't do this by our own strength and understanding. This is why Jesus gathered the disciples on that night before he was betrayed, and they ate together, hearing for the first time the words we repeat at Holy Communion. This is my body given for you. This is my blood shed for you. Do this for the remembrance of me. Do this to remember me. Do this so that I might be part of the remembering work of putting you back together with all the forgiveness and mercy that might be planted in you and through you for others. And alongside this, my peace such as the world cannot give. As we receive this gift of new life and new peace every time we receive Holy Communion, we take into our bodies, our hearts, our minds, our souls, the peace of the living Christ who sends us to be a feast of forgiveness and love and justice for the world. To invite the people of this world, no matter what their belief systems may be, to be woken up to the ways of peace, to pray together and labor together to build peace. Oh, we who study history, we know all too well that peace cannot last, at least not this side of heaven. Which means that we need to learn about peace and teach about peace again and again and again. Some, or perhaps many of you, might know the story of the Christmas truce. Does that ring a bell? It occurred in 1914 during World War I. British soldiers heard German soldiers in their trenches singing Christmas carols and patriotic songs and putting up little fir trees at the edges of the trenches. The two opposing sides came out of their trenches and for a brief time set aside their warring ways to repair, bury the dead, greet each other with Christmas greetings, and even exchange some small gifts. The Christmas truce did not last beyond British Boxing Day, but despite officers and commanders' attempts to prevent this from ever happening again, how, after all, can we kill the enemy that we have greeted with a sign of peace? Despite the efforts of officers and commanders, there were smaller instances, again, that have been recorded of such spontaneous truces happening here and there to give room for the dead to be buried, room to remember our shared humanity. Some may say that peace can't be kept down. I would add, not when the miraculous work of God is constantly trying to bring a new creation amidst all that is broken and hurting in this world. The title of this reflection, this sermon, is Fish and Prayers. Not fishy prayers. That would be the sort of thing that I used to see sometimes on television, with a preacher pretending to heal people. And yep, there were usually some fishy prayers happening right alongside those theatrics. But here on this third Sunday of Easter, we're talking about fish and prayers. We're talking about the real feast, revealed by God and the resurrected Christ, who carries the very peace of heaven with him and charges the disciples and us to be about the work of calling people away from all the fuss and the muss, away from the warring ways of the world and into the real work of peace that requires forgiveness and healing, justice seeking alongside reconciliation, and building bridges across the perceived chasms that humanity insists on using to hold each other at arm's length or gunpoint. We are called not just here in worship, but in every part of what we do as faith communities and out in the world, in every place we go, to declare Christ's peace, even as Christ did so long ago with those disciples. Peace be with you. peace be with you. Peace. Peace be with you.